Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another reaction cast, and today we are having a look at a top jungler on the Chinese server. Now, the picture quality, it isn't great. However, this the problem with this is that the picture quality is taken from a stream, right? So the picture quality is never going to be as great. But I figured that for a pro view, this would be very valuable because there is a little bit of a difference in casting games, right? And there are a couple of different games you can cast as a caster, right? You can cast a normal review or a normal let's say replay, right? Where you're basically in the spectator position, and you can take that VOD off of YouTube, which means it is a already pre-selected VOD. It is much easier to get those, and a lot of the time there's just no other options. And then there are replay files that you download. Now these can be very difficult to find, so if you have any for me, please hit me up. Join my Discord, it's in the description. Send in the replay files. I will watch and cast the game, but generally those are very hard to come by, but they are great to cast because you have maximum control and you can kind of cast the entire game, right? With a replay that you find on YouTube that is locked onto the camera, that is, in my opinion, the worst option, but it is also the most readily available, right? Because you get the entire view basically of what exactly is going on without you having to struggle with finding the replay and kind of procuring it. And then there's also no map overlay, which a lot of streamers have map overlays, obviously, right? And so a lot of the first-person VODs are taken from streams. However, these first-person VODs are super valuable because what you can see here, right? This is not necessarily the newest patch, but it doesn't matter at all because what this is about is it is about the fundamentals of playing jungle. So first of all, we see him clear, we see where he clicks, which is super important. We see where he moves, we see what he does exactly to clear through this jungle. You saw he's playing Diana, he is on a full clear, and this is also what this is about. This is a cast for anyone who wants to try out jungle and kind of give it a try, right? And for that, there are a couple of things that you do want to consider and how you want to play the game. So number one, obviously, you can look at his eyes. In this replay, you can look at his eyes and you can see where he looks. Whenever he looks down to the corner, he looks at the minimap, right? So that's number one. Number two is obviously he will use his camera to pan through to the different lanes and plan out what he is doing, right? And then the next thing is obviously things that happen like this here, where this is obviously Chinese super server, right? Everyone's super aggressive, everyone's looking to get ahead, everyone's looking to just fight and gain an advantage off of that. And you saw that here, right? Darius walks into the jungle of Diana looking to catch her out. Maybe she didn't clear optimally, maybe she lost a little bit of HP, and maybe I can grab a kill here, right? That is the thought pattern. And you see how these players are constantly fighting and constantly trading, right? They're constantly trying to get an edge over each other. So the Chinese super server, really good for kind of checking out the limits of a champion, not so much the, let's say, tactical play. Beautiful play by Rengar actually there again. But you can also obviously see where the guy pans, what he looks at, and so on and so forth. The downside, obviously, oftentimes you can't use the audio because the person is talking and that would create an awkward situation. And so I'm just going to stay with the with music in the background. But every now and then I love to do these because you can see how he pans, you know, how he pans to the lanes, how he watches, what he elects to do with the information that he gathers. And you can also kind of look at his eyes to see whenever he's glancing down at the minimap, right? And kind of just get an idea of what it takes to be such a high level player, right? And obviously, right, when casting different servers, it is always important to point out the stylistic choices on that server that are most common, right? Because there are players on every server that play in a certain way, but on the Chinese server generally it is a very, very skirmish heavy type play, where very quickly people will roam and run and fight and skirmish, and if one person goes in, usually the others follow. So you don't have a lot of like holding back, you have a lot of aggression, and this is something that you have to understand, that for example if you're playing on EU, this is not going to be the case as much, right? And so dependent obviously on your elo as well, this is also going to be different. But the amount of fiesta here is you know, the amount of fiesta is great. But so Darius will be taken down, and now we are super far ahead. Obviously as a jungler we are pretty far ahead, but this is a thing on the Chinese server, is if you look at them, gold numbers are pretty inflated because the kills often are very high kill games, right? Yet the people still are capable, and so they do hit good amounts of farm. So number one, something that you see him do here, right, is he has cleared his jungle already, and he's super fast at doing this, and that is very important on a champion like the Diana, right? On these champions that are really good at power farming through the jungle. With the new patch, this becomes even easier. And I mean, if you look at the gameplay so far, what has he done, right? He has pretty much just cleared from bottom to top multiple times in a row, and that's just it. That's just kind of what he has done, right? And then he's ganked there and just stuck around for the gank. So very simple stuff. However, obviously we have to point out that this is something that obviously, you know, the Aatrox Darius lane is going to be a high kill lane, right? Just the nature of these champs is they run at each other and they just constantly try to fight, constantly try to kill each other. Both have angles, both have ways to kill each other. It is in Darius's favor, to be fair. But Aatrox can definitely win this matchup, right? Let's say in lower elo, it's most definitely Darius' favorite. And then the higher you go, the more Aatrox players also know the spacing of Darius, and then Darius can become a little bit useless. So we see him make the decision here to take Scuttle Crab. This is very important as a jungler, is to kind of track the Scuttle Crab in addition to your jungle. So now we already have the fact that, okay, we want to gank whenever we are free, right? So this is something where he noticed, okay, jungler is very low, which means we can definitely do something here, right? So what do? Oh, not jungler, the bot lane is very low. So what do? In this case, it's a very simple dive. He tries to peel for his support, actually manages to peel for his support. The mid laner goes down, and he's now looking at the Rengar, who is definitely going to be in a very scary situation if he gets caught out here. Realizes that and also hacks the frick off, and now it's back to jungle camps, right? So for junglers, generally, the goal is that you do your camps, and whenever there is a outstanding opportunity, you take it, and otherwise you just clear your camps and then you look for something. And you usually, if you clear fast enough, if you're good enough at it, or you're ahead, then you'll have some free time between clearing all the camps, and then in that free time you can kind of look for things on the map, and obviously outstanding opportunities like getting a kill on the Aphelios there, right? Aphelios is vulnerable as hell, so you know you can get him. So you don't have to really worry about this. By the way, this technique, don't do this on the newest patch. This is not possible as of right now. This double camping thing. This is something that a lot of good junglers did, and it is not possible anymore, as the jungle camps now reset quicker if you get further away from them. So it's going to be difficult to do that, and with that also comes the fact that champions like Diana, for example, who's already really good in the jungle, is going to be toned down just a little bit, where champions that are not as good, that don't clear as healthy maybe, they get a little bit of a bump up. All right, so he did pick up the Herald here, and this is also just a speed clear thing, and something that you're probably going to notice is when it comes to objectives, generally the rule is first Herald is the most important objective. Then the dragons are also important, but obviously some dragons are more important than others, right? But the most important objective is the first Herald and to get it down before 14 minutes. That's kind of what you want to do as a jungler. That's your big goal, right? Obviously, you want to be able to gank, but sometimes there are no gank opportunities. So you want to find a way to make the Herald happen. So, for example, you see the enemy jungler and he ganks bot lane and you are on your wolves. You can cancel your wolves and literally just run to Herald and just start it as quickly as possible, right? That's, for example, one thing. And the other thing, obviously, you know, dragons, this is the exact same thing, right? Rengar decided to gank the top lane and now Diana instantly goes onto the dragon. This is something that doesn't even have to be communicated in this elo because everyone thinks about this. But obviously in other elos, right, you have to communicate this and sometimes it doesn't work. A good reason why champions like Warwick are really good in the jungle is because Warwick can just take this camp, right? Warwick can just take the dragon. So he can just kill the dragon on his own. If no one's gonna help him, that's fine. We get 2 turrets here. This is actually really big. He does have a Tryndamere in the mid lane. Tryndamere is a champion that is really good at counter jungling and kind of dealing with this open lane state. And so if you destroy the turrets here, there's no save point for Sylas anymore. And Tryndamere can run down the Sylas pretty far. So this is very big. We see a gank here in the top lane. This is going to be just, yeah, this is going to be just straight up. They just run him down. With Darius, you have to be careful. Darius and Illaoi are 2 of these champions where you can see this and you can be like, okay, yeah, I can just kill him. But you have to keep in mind that you have to be very strong and you have to be confident and you have to know what his items are and the fact that you can kill him, right? And more often than not, it's advised to be very safe with this. This is a very high elo thing to do, right? To just run him down under turret because you know he can't do anything. But I think that I personally would advise actually going for the dives where you think you could kill the person, and then if you don't manage to, being like, okay, what did I not understand about that, right? Did I not do enough damage, or you know, what was it that went wrong in that dive, right? And most of the time it's not going to be a mechanical thing. Maybe it is, but then you have to think about, okay, if I had the mechanical thing correctly, if I had done that correctly, would I have still been able to? All right, so what he does here is he has a lot of money, right? He has 2,300 gold. He could full clear. However, what he does here is that he, you know, gets to his item breakpoints, kind of. He gets a stopwatch, which is a very good item on Diana. And now he is back on the map with more money. So this is something that is going to be very important, especially if objectives come up, like a dragon, for example, which isn't happening here, but generally it is a very, very important thing to kind of make sure that you spend your money and you're ready to respond. Because one thing that jungle can always do and should always do is, if the lane gets ganked or if something happens to your teammates, you run out of the jungle straight to them. Just let the camp sit there. It'll have to wait for your attention, right? And you just run right there. And this obviously becomes much stronger if you actually spend your money. Something that you see here, for example, is the Rengar was intercepted by him and this leads to a kill. And it also weakens what the bot lane was even, or what the red team was even trying to do here in the bot lane, right? So now the AD carry has to retreat. Little bit of an unfortunate farm sharing that we had here between Tryndamere and Twitch. But obviously this is kind of the nature of the beast, right? This is what in China isn't very optimized, is that in China people fight so much that sometimes you get to those unfortunate situations, right, where you're actually not using the resources optimally, but because you're fighting so much, you're actually gaining a lot. I don't know what exactly was happening there, but that's a curious thing. And yeah, you see how aggressively and quickly the team runs over the other team. So this is also a little bit of a, let's say, guide in finishing games quickly, right? Is obviously you need teamwork for this, and you need the team to work together very closely. and then you need to make aggressive plays, but you have to be very, very careful about them, because this is the thing, and this is the difficult thing. Reds might kill them. God bless that we don't have that anymore. You have to still make sure that you don't throw. So for example, what is happening here is now the red team has acquired a lot of valuable kills, right? And you see how everyone is acting like they're super far ahead, which yes, they are, but as you can see, that doesn't make them super far ahead enough, right? Now, this is where you can lose games if the enemy team is able to hold on. And especially, for example, especially giving a shutdown, and I talk about this a lot, but especially you having like 700 gold or something, you feel like you're doing good, right? But you die to the AD carry, someone late game, you die to her once, you die to her twice, and it's a jinx, right? So now you've given that jinx, what, 1.5k gold, even more. You can basically swing the game by that at this point in the game, right? Because let's say now you're fighting her, and instead of having the components for Infinity Edge, she has Infinity Edge, right? That is an absolutely scary situation to be dealing with. And all of a sudden, although you did really well, you fail to stay safe in the parts where it really mattered, thus actually not having as much good impact on the game as you would have by just performing average, let's say average, and just not dying as much, right? So this is kind of the downside of this playstyle. It's very coin flippy, but as you can see, the coin flip keeps on working, and this is something that you see on the Chinese server a lot. Is they're obviously not like blindly coin flipping, right? They know it's a, you know, they know it's a 60-40 chance, right? 60% of working out, 40% of not working out, and then they go for the play, where in Korea maybe people would go 80% of working out, 20% of not working out. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Tell me what you thought about this style of cast. It's a little bit different than what I do usually. Stay awesome.